Hello, my name is Hilda Maina. I'm a tour operator at Njoroge Safaris. You're watching Zingi Environmental Series.
Hello everyone, my name is Bernard Muhia. Welcome to the Zingi Environmental Series. We are coming from the National Museums of Kenya, and I'm here with Dr. Peter Njoroge, Senior Research Scientist and Head of Ornithology at the National Museums of Kenya. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernard.
Before we get started, this is for you.
What is that? You appreciate you as a man, as a brother, as a father, as a son, as a leader. You matter. Your life matters. Very good.
So
Right.
the reason why I've given you that is because we're doing a campaign and say cheese.
Cheese.
So, Daktari, I'm curious, how did you find yourself working with birds?
My passion in birds started quite at an early stage while growing up in Nakuru. That time there was lots of open spaces, and like now when most areas now are hugely built up. And I remember we used to have open fields where as a kid we would run around, and I had a passion for animals generally. It's many times I came upon maybe an abandoned little bird and tried to raise it, often ending with failure, but that passion grew and grew. It eventually grew to a point that when I got admitted to university for a degree in wildlife management, I'm now focusing on animals themselves, wildlife actually. While doing wildlife management, I remember I first had my internship at Nakuru National Park. And the activities itself, or the duties itself, involved following rhinos, reintroduce rhinos in the park. And then I met various people in my life who inspired me to focus my attention on the study of birds. And that's how I came up. I remember the first time a colleague of mine joined a project at the museum and invited me to come around. And when I came around, I was impressed by what they were doing and never looked back.
You mentioned that you tried rearing birds when you were little.
Yes. Kids do a lot of things, but many times I came upon small birds. Birds always fall out of their nests, and the little helpless ones. If I came upon any, I used to bring them back home, put them in a dark corner and try feeding them. Often feeding them on the wrong food because I had no knowledge of what to do to feed them. You see me stuffing them with ugali or something that I'm not used to feeding them. They almost ended up dying, most of them. I can't remember any that survived, but I had that curiosity that to help them, and I love them. I think that's where my fascination with birds came up here.
What then excites you about birds?
Birds, like the human race generally, they fascinate a lot of people, and I have no exception. Their mastery of flight, their songs. Who can believe, how can we live probably without, let's say, the dawn chorus? Wake up one morning and all the birds are gone. How would that world be? They fascinate us a lot. And the interesting there, I don't think whether you have seen them. These vultures, they try to open ostrich eggs with a stone. They use a tool that is, You see the fascination with birds?
So they'll pick a stone,
and drop it on an ostrich egg to try to open up. They are known for that. That passion usually develops and grows into research questions. You want to do more about them. You want to conserve them. Here in Kenya, we do a lot of research with a focus to conserve them. But along the way, we answer some questions in their behavior. Why do they behave like this? Why do they do this? They also featured in most of our African folklore. I don't think there's a tribe in Kenya who doesn't have a folklore about birds. They are there, lots. We are fascinated. How did that come about to happen? And during your research work, you find out that some of the folklore is somehow true. Those old African people that preceded us knew these things. How they did, you don't know, but some of the folklores are actually true. Yeah.
And I think that's what they call indigenous knowledge.
Indigenous knowledge, yeah, you are right. Indigenous knowledge, yeah.
You mentioned doing research about birds.
Yes.
What have been the trends from the past in bird populations?
Yeah.
From the past, where we are, and what are the projections for the future?
Yeah, to give you a good example of what's happening, it's really sad. When I joined the museum as a student and as an intern on an internship pursuing my MSc, that was back around 1994, 93, 94. There were only about 25 birds listed in the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Only 25. Now, at the moment, I think it's about 65 or more. In a span of how many years? 65 birds threatened with the threat of extinction at the moment. So things are going from bad to us for birds. That list never comes down. To downgrade species is very difficult. I've seen species being downgraded. I once worked in the Seychelles, with the Seychelles magpie robin. And when I went there, there was only how many birds? Around 80 in the whole world, in the entire world. There was only 80 confined in 2 small islands. Yeah? We work on them. Yeah, that's really hands-on conservation, helping them breed, feeding them, and stuff like that. And by 2006-07, the birds population had grown to 300 birds in several islands now. That one was downgraded from critically endangered to endangered. That's one of the boosters, but it's still endangered.
But that's positive.
That's really positive for a species like that one that was almost going extinct. A few years and it would have gone extinct.
And what's making them threatened? What are the threats?
The threats are varied, and some are localized, and some are based on the habitat where they live. So, if you look at a country like Kenya, there are very many habitats. Yeah, some of the most severely threatened habitats are the forests. So birds living in forests are top of the list. Then there is habitats like wetlands. Those ones are also disappearing very fast. And the issue here is just conversion of maybe forests to agricultural land. Wetlands converted to agricultural land or something like that. There is that competing interest. Natural world and all the human activities have here. Yes.
We were talking about the threats.
Yeah, the threats, yeah.
But what, on the other side, what is being done that is also benefiting birds?
There is a lot conservationists are doing. One time I remember, like in the 1990s, we produced a book called Important Bird Areas. That book was like a prioritization, a list of priorities, areas in Kenya where the threats are top of the list that funding should focus on, or conservation efforts should be focused on. Yes. That one helped a lot in defining what Kenya conservation action should be done in Kenya.
Yes.
And if you look at organizations like Nature Kenya, they have used that program, Important Bird Area, to advance conservation of birds and in fact biodiversity in Kenya. Yeah.
And how is that going? Is it catching up to the threats and the loss of habitats?
There are some success stories and some not so successful stories here. Because we are still losing some birds. We have managed probably to save, to halt or to reverse the decline of some species. Yeah.
For example, which species are you?
Well, there are species like the sharp swan crow found on Kinango. It's an endemic species to Kenya. By endemic, I mean it's found nowhere else in the world apart from Kenya. And Kinango Plateau is one of its main strongholds. It prefers those grasslands. And those grasslands are the same ones that farmers want to cultivate for potatoes, to supply Nairobi with chips and stuff like that. So the habitat kept being destroyed, but conservations come up with other ideas. Instead of potatoes, you can put up what? Sheep. They can cohabitate together properly with sheep. This retro bird, sharp swan crow. And so if you promote people rearing more sheep rather than converting the land to potato farms, that one helps the bird.
The birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know birds have very many habitats that they are attracted to.
Yes.
But give us examples of habitats that birds that are popular with birds.
Yeah. Kenya is an interesting situation, yeah? If I give you a brief background, yeah?
Yes.
In Africa, in terms of bird species richness, we are number 2.
Okay.
After the DRC.
Oh.
Yeah? We are number 2 with around 1,100 species. Globally, we are number 13.
Okay.
Why we have that huge bird species richness, yeah, is because of the varied habitats and our positioning around the equator. You know, the equator cuts across the country. And that has given us a huge diversity of habitat from the coastline. We have a coastline, some countries don't have a coastline, so we have marine birds.
Yes.
Then after the coastline, you come inland, you have all those savannas, all those mountains with their different mountain forests, all the way to the north with the deserts, and also with their own unique type of species. Then you go down to Lake Victoria Basin, that's another area again with unique bird species. And then of interest is a small forests, patch of forest in Kakamega Forest, which is unique. It has lots of unique species, that probably they have only relatives from the western Rhone and Congolese forests. Yes.
I heard that the Kakamega forest is related to the Congo forest in terms of...
Yes, it's a relic. It seems like one time there used to be one huge forest connecting Kakamega and whatever, and sometime the forest was separated. So you'll find more species, some species in Kakamega forest, they don't even occur in Uganda. The next population, the other population will be found in DRC. Very interesting, yeah.
And I guess that's what makes DRC number 1 and then us number 2.
Maybe. Yeah. In terms of birds, Kakamega is really a jewel in Kenya. It's that precious. Yeah.
Now, what is the impact of birds on ecosystems?
Birds have a big role in ecosystem, as you know, and there are many. And some are noticeable, some are not subtle. So subtle. Yeah? For example, seed dispersal.
Yes.
They do a lot of seed dispersal. Those are birds that will eat fruits and then help the trees dispersal.
Yes.
And I remember in my research work, I know, not in Kenya though, but I know of someone who did research on a tree that went extinct when the species that used to disperse its seeds also went extinct. So they are neatly tied together, like they are core part of the ecosystem. There are also birds that help in seed pollination. And there are also birds that help control diseases.
Yes.
Yeah? You have heard about vultures.
Yes.
Right now, vultures are the most threatened bird species in Kenya due to several reasons, mostly persecution, poisoning and stuff. Yeah? Those ones are scavengers. And they help a lot in controlling diseases, helping suppress diseases like anthrax and something like that. Yeah. And there have been examples, like in India, their vultures population declined severely, and at the same time they noted the rise of diseases in their dispensaries, like anthrax and stuff, other diseases here. Yeah. So vultures are very good in helping control some diseases here. Yeah.
I know we've touched on this a bit, but what is the relationship between development and biodiversity, now with a specific focus on electrification and birds?
A lot. Electrocution is a threat that was not so severe a few years ago, but as we develop, we require more electricity, more infrastructure, and that interferes with a lot of birds. In our research work and in our monitoring projects, we are coming across more and more birds that are getting electrocuted or collision. It's not only electrocution, it's also collision with the infrastructure. But
in what ways?
Colliding with the wires. They can collide without being electrocuted.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's also electrocution. That's a threat that is actually mostly severe for the large birds. Cranes, storks, most birds of prey, all of those are severely threatened by electrocution here or collision here. Yeah.
What are the solutions?
Solutions are there, and some countries like Mongolia have done a really good job. It's actually only the design of the infrastructure. There are better infrastructure that could be used that are bird friendly. The problem comes in when they use the wrong infrastructure, and then you want them to change into bird friendly infrastructure. It's very expensive. Retrofitting is very expensive for them to change, and that's where a lot of money goes. But as a section and with our collaborators, we are trying to work hand in hand with people like Ketraco, Kenya Power, to try and solve these things, especially at the EIA stage. For every project they have to do an EIA, and more we are finding ourselves being involved. They approach us, so we need your input into this EIA, and we try as much as we can to help them, show them the best infrastructure that is bird friendly at least, to try and see that whether we'll cope with this problem. There's also people like people developing wind power energy. Surprisingly, places that are good for wind power are also good for birds of big soaring birds, because they like those thermals and the wind. So conflict will come up. So we are also helping those ones, like monitoring wherever they want to establish those ones. And there's many coming up in the country. We are all gearing for green energy. But it's good energy because it's green, away from fossil fuels. But on the other hand, it has its own shortcomings. It's bad for the energy company. They lose the downtime, because if it collides with a wire and there's a blackout or something like that, there's no electricity, they lose. And also birds also lose. We lose on the side of conservation. So it's up to the best interest for them to look after, to make sure that there is no incidences of collision or electrocution, because it also affects them. The downtime it's expensive for them. True.
How do you involve local communities now as the Ornithology Section in the conservation of birds?
A lot. A while ago, you remember I told you about our Citizen Science programs, and we are becoming more and more, we are using them more and more. The first one I told you about, the monitoring of water birds in the Rift Valley lakes. That one has now spread to the coast and other lakes around the country, and we use citizens. We use citizen volunteers, or what you call volunteers. They go out and they count, and we get the data, very useful data that over the years we have used it a lot. We also have programs like the Kenya Bird Map project. That one again, we use citizen scientists spread across the country. They collect data using their mobile phones, a simple mobile app. They tag in the key in their bird species, and we receive them in their database. And the data is very useful, not only to scientists, government agencies who want to use it, like for setting up development projects like wind farms, like we talked. They use that data. So we are interacting more and more with the communities.
A few trick questions.
A few trick questions.
Yes.
Jesus. Okay.
Plane takes off from Nairobi and is flying to Kisumu.
Yes.
And it crashes somewhere between Nairobi and Kisumu.
Yeah.
Where will they bury the survivors?
At where will they bury the survivors? Are there any survivors in the first place?
Listen to the question. Where will they bury the survivors?
Where will they bury the survivors? Survivors are not buried.
Yeah, that's true. That's the correct answer.
That's the correct answer. You don't bury survivors. Why did you ask me that question? The other thing that we do here is we have the Kenya Airports Authority. Birds can also be a menace.
Yes.
They are always not good there. Yes. They can be a menace to planes, and they can cause terrible accidents if somehow they crash with an aircraft and they get sucked in the engines. And it has happened in the past. So one of the aspects of the Kenya Airport Authority, they do a lot of controlling of birds and making the airport safe. So we also advise them at times.
So we've been speaking to Dr. Peter Njoroge, the senior scientist, head of the Ornithology Section at the National Museums of Kenya. Thank you, Dr. for speaking to us and also for having fun with us.
Those 3 questions of yours.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you very much.